One of the things that students often ask us about here is surf etiquette, and often people are a little bit intimidated by this idea of these ocean rules, and they're very anxious that they don't do anything wrong and they don't want to get in anyone's way. And it's great that they're asking these questions, because as surfers we all have a responsibility to make sure that we know the rules and that we understand the rules. But you shouldn't feel too intimidated by them, because the primary goal of surf etiquette is to try to keep everyone safe. And secondly, it is to try to keep the system fair, or as fair as possible. So in this video I'm going to run through some of the main rules of surf etiquette in an attempt to demystify them. So rule number one, and I think this is the most important one, choose your surf spot according to your ability. If you're a beginner, there's no point going and surfing a spot with huge barreling, hollow, shallow breaking waves. You'll probably have a terrible time, you'll be traumatized, you'll never want to surf again, and you might get in other people's way. So if you're a beginner, choose a spot where there are small waves, where it breaks slowly, gentle. There will probably be other beginners there, and the vibe will be nice. And I think just by abiding by this one rule, you can see off an awful lot of potential issues. Rule number two is don't let go of your surfboard. So that means when you're turtle rolling and duck diving, you must hold on tight to your board. Because if you let go of your board and there's someone behind you or in the vicinity of you, then they could end up being hit by your surfboard. So that's not a good situation. It's not a good way to make friends. So make sure that you really understand the technique for turtle rolling and duck diving. And as surfers, when we enter the water, your surfboard, without sounding too ning nang nong about this, it really is part of you, and it's an extension of you. It's your buoyancy aid, it's lots of things, so you really don't want to be letting go of it. Rule number three is don't drop in on anyone. The surfer who is closest to the breaking part of the wave has priority. If you also try to take the wave, you are committing one of the cardinal sins of surfing, which is dropping in. So if, for example, you're at a right-hand point break, you're going to look over your left shoulder before you go. If there's someone to your left, you've got to yield to your left. Or if you're at a left-hand point break, you're going to look over your right shoulder and you're going to yield to your right. At a beach break, it's a little bit more complicated. You've got to sort of keep an eye over both shoulders and make sure that there's not someone who's already there. There are a few exceptions to the drop-in rule. For example, if the surfer with priority, if he or she wipes out straight away, then and you're next in line, then that means you can go, that's fine. Or if you see the surfer with priority is a total beginner and they're just going straight towards the beach, again, you can just go if you know that you can cut across the wave face. Or if you see that the surfer with priority, they're too deep and they're buried in white water and there's no way they're going to make it over to the green face, then that's fine, you can go. It does take a little bit of experience though, until you start to sort of gauge those situations where you have those exceptions. The next rule is don't be a snake. So there are a few different types of snaking. All of them are very undignified. So the first one is, for example, let's say I'm in the perfect position to catch a wave. I'm in the priority position, I'm closest to the breaking part of the wave. I've been waiting the longest, everyone knows it's my wave. So I'm all excited to see this wave, I start paddling. In the meantime, whilst I'm paddling, this sneaky snake, he paddles around me, he's right next to me, but he positions himself closer to the breaking part of the wave. So now, if I go for the wave, it looks like I've dropped in on him, but actually what he's done is an exploitation of the dropping rule, and that is not cool. Another example of snaking is when a surfer, they're up and riding, let's say they've moved away from the breaking part slightly of the wave because they're going to do a cutback or something, and in the meantime a surfer who's paddling out, they see that gap between the wave and the surfer and they turn around and they take advantage of that gap. So again, it looks like the original surfer has dropped in, but really what that is an exploitation of the drop-in rule, and it's just not dignified at all, so don't do that. The next rule is always paddle out wide. So let's say if you turn up at a surf break and you see this peak you want to surf, there's a group of surfers already surfing there, you don't want to paddle out right in front of them, right in the middle of them. That would be bad etiquette. You always want to look for the channel and paddle out there. So at a beach break it's a little bit more complicated because the peaks are sort of moving around. But what you have to do is you get to the beach and you want to wait a few minutes, observe what's going on, and then choose a spot. Even if it means walking down the beach, choose a spot and paddle out where there are no surfers, and then you can paddle around to where you want to go. And when you're paddling out, it is that surfer's responsibility to try to get out of the way of other riders. So you've always got to be sort of mindful of what's going on around you and trying to anticipate sometimes what other people are going to do. We have now moved over to the whiteboard area to illustrate this next point, which is don't paddle in front of other riders. So sometimes through no fault of your own, you're going to be paddling out and there's someone coming straight at you. So what should you do? So if you see this situation here, we have someone up and riding here, and then this person is paddling out. So this surfer here has got two options really. He can either just sort of blip over this nice green face here, or he can go this way and have to do another turtle roll. So even though every cell in his body at this point just wants to sort of go over this green face, the rule is that you've got to take it on the head and you've got to paddle towards the white water and go behind this surfer so she can carry on her ride unimpeded. The worst thing you could possibly do at this stage, by the way, would be ditch your board, because then you'd be giving this person two obstacles to avoid instead of just one. And so paddle behind the surfer and make it obvious that's what you're doing. Don't just be like a deer in headlights. Be really deliberate so that she can see, okay, he's going that way, and she can continue her ride unimpeded. The next rule is don't chill in the impact zone. So let's say you took a wave on the peak there, and let's imagine that you looked down and unfortunately you wiped out straight away. This is not a good area to rest and have a cup of tea and a biscuit. You really want to get out of that impact zone straight away. So grab your board, hop onto your board and paddle out there. You don't want to be taking the wedgie out of your bottom or reponying your hair or fixing your man bun at that point, because there might be other surfers who are waiting to take a wave. So you really want to just sort of get out of that area straight away. This next rule, I'm calling it Helen's rule because I've not really seen it referenced anywhere, and it doesn't really happen very often, but when it does, it is a sight to behold. So what it is let's say I'm paddling to catch a wave, and it's really obvious that I'm going to take the wave, and someone right in front of me, they're not even on the shoulder, they're right in front of me, he turns around and he starts paddling as well. And I'm slightly baffled by it because I don't know does he want the nose of my board to go up his bottom? I'm not quite sure what he's doing. And okay, I have enough experience that I can go around people, but it sort of affects the line that I take on the wave because I don't know what this crazy bonkers person is going to do next. So don't do that. I think that when someone's paddling to catch a wave and it's really obvious they're going to take it and go down the line, it's kind of rude to also be paddling for it. And then my final rule today is just use your common sense. So this means it's good to share, take turns, be nice to people, say sorry if you happen to make a mistake, you know, don't be too cool for school, respect the locals. Think of the lineup as being like your local pub. If you were in your local pub and you're just enjoying a quiet pint of shandy and then a group of outsiders came in, they're on a stag night or a bachelor party or something, and they start monopolizing the bar staff and they put techno, drum and bass, awful music on the jukebox, then you probably wouldn't like it. And I think that there's a sort of correlation with the lineup as well. So it's good to respect the locals, and when you give respect, that's how you get it back as well. Also, drive safely, don't be in too much of a rush, park responsibly, don't block anyone else in, and I think it's never really worth getting angry with someone or yelling at someone, because if you yell at someone, it's kind of gonna spoil your surf session as well. So I think don't yell at anyone. It's just sometimes you just gotta let stuff go. Even if someone's being an absolute aegis, just let it go. So those are my wise words of today, and if you have any tips on promoting harmony in the lineup, then please leave a comment below. And if you would like to find out more about the surfing and yoga retreats right here in Costa Rica, then check out the website, puravitaadventures.com. Don't forget you could subscribe to the channel. It gives us a little boost and it means you stay up to date with all the latest how-to videos. Okay, thanks ever so much for watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.